What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of The O'Neill Show. I apologize, it's been a while since I've posted anything, and I'm a little behind in the news cycle. But as you can see, I've been doing a lot of setup, and unfortunately, because I can't seem to figure out yet how to put video within my videos, I'm stuck with this dinosaur of a TV. But it'll get the point across nonetheless. So, as many as you know, June 11th, the G7 meeting happened between world leaders. Biden was there, and unfortunately, he decided to hold a meeting with Putin, which I'm not terribly sure why. Nothing was actually accomplished, and so I'm going to show you some of the moments from the G7. But I want you to put this into contrast, okay? Because what I'm about to show you is Biden at the G7, and then what I will show you is Trump's worst moments at the G7 from when he was president. And what I want you to do is, especially if you're not a Donald Trump fan, I want you to pay attention to this, okay? I want you to notice the difference, and I want you to notice how the media covers this, okay? So let's get started here. The first thing, this was after the meeting that Biden had with Putin, and he does something incredibly stupid. And again, everyone who is not a Trump fan or a Trump supporter, I want you to look at this and go, imagine if this was Trump and Trump did this. How would you feel about it? All right, so let's get right into it here. And here we go.
Another area we spent a great deal of time on was cyber and cybersecurity. I talked about the proposition that certain critical infrastructure should be off limits to attack.
Okay, and he's not wrong there. If you're a very strong leader and you feel that you are being cyber attacked by another country, like you have major institutions that are being attacked, that is definitely what you want to do. Is you want to come across as strong, you want to come across as firm in terms of not to do this. And usually in situations like this, you're not going to threaten them, but you're going to basically, to the effect of, look, if this happens again, this is what's going to happen. Trump was actually very notorious for this, especially in terms of trade agreements. He would not bat an eye on putting tariffs on it, right? Which usually got things solved pretty quick. So here is President Houseplant making a very poor decision on in terms of how he handled this.
Period. By cyber or any other means. I gave them a list. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have it in front of me, 16 specific entities. 16 defined as critical infrastructure under U.S. policy, from the energy sector to our water systems.
So that's not how you handle it. You don't give your supposed enemy a list of critical infrastructures that you don't want attacked. To me, that is just a very piss poor move. But what's interesting to note is Vladimir Putin came back after. And again, this is Putin, so I don't really trust anything he says with a grain of salt. But he came back and said that the majority of hacking from which they could figure out was coming from within the U.S. Now, again, take that as you will. Neither option would surprise me. So moving on to the next clip here. So this was covered by Australian media, and this gentleman goes over a bit of the gaffes that Biden had in the G7, and I'm going to play this, and also after this, I'm going to play, like I said earlier, Donald Trump's gaffes, because I want you to put them in contrast, and I want you to look at Trump's gaffes, and I want you to look at Biden's gaffes for the G7, and I want you to put them in comparison in terms of, okay, what if Trump was Biden, Biden was Trump? Okay, so let's check this out right here.
Now, while most of the time Joe Biden conducted himself in Cornwall as the familiar foreign diplomat he's always been when he was vice president, there was some concern about his...
And here's another thing, too, because he's about to talk his mental capacity. If you watch videos of Joe Biden, say back in the 80s, 90s, possibly even 70s, he's got the gift of gab. He can talk, right? And then you look at the state that he's in now, and it's almost childish to compare to what he was. And what upsets me the most is that people that are closest to Biden, his family, you know, they're letting this happen. If this was my grandfather, if this was my father, I would be going, Dad, Grandpa, look, this is not something you should be doing. This is, you should be enjoying the time you have left, and whatnot. And the thing is, the Democratic Party knew, because Biden, in most of his policies, not policies, but his time as a career politician leading up to this, he was very left leaning, but to a point he was kind of moderate. And now with him, basically, the Democratic Party has control of them. They're pushing all of their radical agendas through, and he's just letting it happen. So we'll get on with this here. I think this is pretty informative.
Mental capacity, which is just painful to watch sometimes. I know Chris Kenny says the man should be in a home, and sometimes I can't disagree, and he shouldn't be leading the country. And
there's another thing. When people say, he shouldn't be leading the country or he should be in a home, we're not insulting him. We're literally, from an honest perspective, looking at him and going, this guy should not be the leader of the United States. I mean, that's just, the rest of the world right now is laughing at the States because of their leadership.
Take a look at this footage of the president wandering around, lost in a cafe in England. It was posted on Friday and largely ignored by mainstream media.
How are your meetings going in Cornwall, Mr. President?
Okay, so in context for this one, the film you're seeing, there is no film before that, but the rumor is that he was wandering around, or he was I guess got lost as to where he was going. But what you're going to notice is, so here he is, he's being asked questions by the reporter, to which you can see he's trying to answer, but then one of his aides, you're going to see from this angle, come up and basically takes him by the hand and leads him away. Now, again, put that in perspective. If that was Donald Trump, and he was doing this, and one of his aides came up and said, "Oh, Mr. Trump, you have to come with us. Come this way." The entire mainstream media and everybody on the left would be going, "Oh no, he's incompetent. He can't lead the country." Yet, Biden can.
How are your meetings going here in Cornwall?
Very well.
Come on.
See, there she goes. Come on. Everybody's laughing. He's being let out. This is the leader of the U.S.
They always do.
He looks stunned. At least the crowd found it entertaining anyway. Now, let's look at one of his official addresses. I think he went off script because he forgot the standing-in ambassador.
To thank Gail Limpert, who is our chargé at the embassy, filling in for the ambassador and ambassador. We'll have one soon, but she did a great job.
And then apparently some of us don't know what COVID is.
I know you all know, but a lot of people may not know what COVID is.
A lot of people may not know what COVID is. Oh boy. Again, if this was Donald Trump, the media would be having a heyday with this. But because it's Biden, kid gloves. He can do no harm. His favorite ice cream is chocolate ice cream. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Really? And off the back of his speech, the usual protocol is taking reporter questions. But, of course, Biden has a special exemption, and this time he threw his staff under the bus.
Okay, so I want you to pay attention to this one. Because when Trump was president, let's back up. Has anyone noticed, by the way, that the lack of video speeches or actual speeches that Biden's making, where they're putting him on camera and putting him on the news, do you notice how, compared to Trump, it's very little? Every day Trump was on the news. He was being blasted left and right for what he did, how he was talking, how he was treating reporters. But if you also noticed, you take a reporter like Jim Acosta from CNN, Trump was always answering or calling upon him to ask his questions. And here, just, if Trump was to have done this, okay, what would you have thought?
I'm sorry, I'm going to get in trouble with staff if I don't do this the right way. Jennifer Jacobs, Bloomberg.
Enough.
So calling upon certain staff. If Trump was to have walked out with a list and go, okay, my staff's going to give me trouble if I don't call upon this person, it makes no sense. So that was a complete disaster. But because I want to be fair, I really want to be fair, Here's a video of Trump's most awkward moments at the G7. Now, what you're going to notice, okay, and here's the difference. When Biden makes a gaffe, if you will, it's fairly bad. Whether it's verbal, whether it's mentally forgetting where he is, whether it's just forgetting the question, or it's forgetting someone's name, or forgetting, who's in power of a certain institution. Trump's biggest problem is that it's either an awkward handshake, or he walks out in front of somebody, or he's just not doing what a political leader would do. But again, he's a businessman. People like Joe Biden, George Bush, Bill Clinton, they're all in that elite club, right? They've all been a part of politics. They've all been part of the game. Donald Trump was the first president that came in that couldn't be bought or sold on his ideologies or his policies. Okay? And a lot of people don't realize that Donald Trump donated his entire presidential salary of $400,000 to charity. Has Joe Biden donated any of his presidential salary? Nope. Not at all. Not even close. So here we go. Here is a video of, and believe me, I wanted to make this fair. So I looked long and hard to find some really good gaffes of Trump. And this was the best I could find. So right there we see, he's sort of just walking in, you know what I mean? Walking in like a boss, I may add. So here's an interesting thing. I want you to watch this. So they're highlighting that she's walking by him and not shaking his hand, and he goes right for Trump's wife's hand. But in the next clip over, you see that she actually does shake his hand. Right? So again, Trump being, wrong time, wrong action, misstep.
Congratulations, great job.
Thank you very much.
I have to admit right there, it's actually Trump who almost looks like he's like, what am I doing here? Just gives a small pat on the hand. And here's a side note, and I know this might not mean nothing to a lot of people, but if we take a look very closely at how Donald Trump is holding his hand, he's actually gripping it, right? And that's what you want in a world leader. You want someone who's going to go to bat for your country. And what I mean by that is you take countries, especially in the Muslim world, you take China, Japan, a lot of countries have pride in themselves. Well, right now, and I'm going to get to this, I actually have a video to prove the argument that I'm about to make. I have never seen anything in my life as to white, middle-aged, liberal women who feel the need to be social justice warriors. And they just criticize and criticize and criticize and judge, and they bash Trump and vote blue no matter who. Meanwhile, you're burying your own country. America, people are going on saying, America is systemically racist. If America is so bad and so systemically racist, sorry, why is everybody moving there? Shouldn't we just tell people, nope, don't move to America, it's racist? I mean, that would be the answer, right? Well, of course not, because the hypocrisy of the left is say one thing, do another. So let's continue this. So you get the point. His biggest issue was handshakes and knowing where to stand. I can't understand how the media can treat Biden with kid gloves, and everybody on the left is just, oh, he's so amazing, so brave. Favorite ice cream is chocolate. Like, it's just absolutely insanity. I mean, and I'm not talking about traditional liberals or anything like that. I'm talking about the far left, the radicals, the squad, AOC, people like that. So the next video we have here this was actually taken a little bit after the G7 meeting. But again, contrast. If Trump had done this, how would you have felt? Right? And as the video states, he's being labeled as creepy because this is kind of creepy, to be honest with you. So let's give this a watch right here. It's actually kind of comical.
People are waiting for relief. I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far.
He got them $1.9 trillion in relief.
Consequential this week.
Checks are consequential.
A lot has happened already.
Oh boy.
Number two, I'm going to fight like heck to get them the rest of what I think has to be done. And these are really tough decisions, Senator. I don't in any way dismiss what Senator Murphy says about the environment. I don't dismiss it at all. Just remind him, I wrote the bill.
He wrote the bill on the environment.
Why would I not be for it? The question is, how much can we get done? And I'm not being critical, y'all. I really mean this. It was legitimate questions you're asking me. Asking me, well, guess what? Employers can't find workers. I said, yeah, pay them more.
Okay, pause. I have an issue with that. So employers are saying they're having trouble finding employees. And then Biden goes, pay them more. Okay. So apparently he doesn't understand that when you raise the minimum wage or you pay more, the cost of services and goods go up. Basic economics. Literally basic economics. Now, they've got themselves in a bit of a predicament because it would be one thing if he just raised the minimum wage, right? Then employers would be forced to pay more, costs of services will go up. But what they're doing is actually giving people stimulus checks to stay home. So you're still, even though people are staying home and you're giving stimulus checks, the costs of goods are still going to go up because you don't have the people working there. You have very limited people working there. So those people have to do more. The cost of goods go up. And the way Biden actually wants to combat this is by creating it's a national, so all the countries basically, they're going to have a certain percentage rate for all the businesses that come in. And to his credit, I mean, I get he's trying to essentially secure what he's talking about, which what I mean by, if you raise the minimum wage and countries start have to paying more, yada yada, they're going to go out of country. They're going to go to where business taxes are cheaper. They're going to go to where the labor rate's cheaper. So he wants to put globally a national business tax. So it'll deter people from leaving the States in search of better tax rates. Now, is that going to happen? I highly doubt it. Even if it does happen, that's not good, because services and goods globally are going to go up now, which is not a good thing. So we'll continue.
This is an employees bargaining chip.
Okay, so an employees bargaining chip. So here's the thing about democratic government, especially the far left democratic government, which is what we have now in the States. They're creating a problem that's not there. Okay? And that's what they do. They create problems that are not here. You want to end racism? Stop talking about it. Just stop talking about it. If you see some a-hole that's being racist, just let him talk. Ignore him. Stop talking about problems that aren't there. Because that's what these guys do. They create problems that aren't there and then tell you, you need us to fix the problem. Oh, we have coronavirus? Oh, you need a stimulus check. Oh, you can't work? Well, they have to raise the minimum wage. We'll give you a stimulus check. It makes no sense. You look at red states, Florida, Texas. They've been open a hell of a lot longer. than blue states. And their economy is bouncing back now. Florida's wide open. They're doing great. Just common sense.
What's happening? They're going to have to compete and start paying hard-working people a decent wage. And by the way...
And by the way, you don't need $15 an hour to make a coffee or flip a burger. Just saying.
Talk of inflation. The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down.
Overwhelming consensus says it's going to pop up a little bit and then go down. Apparently, this guy has never taken any sort of economics class because that's not how it works. Oh, thank God that dumpster fire's done. All right, so the next one we have here is... This one was actually a couple days ago, and he's talking about gun control. And gun control is a losing issue for Democrats. There are two things that are a losing issue for Democrats: gun control and abortion. Those are the two things that Republicans, regardless of how they're doing, they can seem to still carry forward and win the argument. So as a leader of a country, you would think the last thing you would want to do is threaten your own citizens. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's what China does, you know. But let's take a look at this and just behold the dumpster fire that it is.
Own them. And I might add, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own.
Okay, so what he's saying right there is when the Second Amendment was created, it limited the type of firearms you could have. What he actually should have said, and which would have been more to his argument, would have been, back then they didn't have the guns that we have now. Which both perspective is completely wrong, because back when the Constitution was written, believe it or not, you can look it up, there was actually machine guns. So let's continue.
Buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of
You can't buy a cannon. Well, yeah, a cannon would be completely impractical, you know, compared to a fire or a regular handgun or a rifle.
The blood of patriots, you know, and all this stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s.
Okay, so what he said right there, anyone who's thinking about overtaking the government. Okay, the 2A was created for a multitude of reasons. Two of the biggest prominent points are to overthrow a tyrannical government or to stop any invasion of another country. That's what the 2A is for, apart from self-defense and things like that. Well, watch what President Houseplant here says.
Maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit.
So he just said, in order to basically overthrow the U.S. government, you would need F-16s, F-15s, whatever, and possibly nuclear weapons. So you're essentially threatening your people with nuclear weapons, which to me, I mean, okay, China.
Seeing guns was more than 20 years ago. 5% of gun dealers, turns out, in the study we did, showed that 90% of illegal guns were found at the crime scenes sold by 5% of gun dealers. 5% sold 90% of the guns found at crime scenes. And these merchants of death are breaking the law for profit. They're selling guns that are killing innocent people. It's wrong, it's unacceptable. As the Attorney General said, we're going to crack down on those gun dealers.
Pause. He's also made a statement saying that, so, I mean, it's no secret that in the most heavily gun-controlled areas, that's where gun violence is actually the highest. And he did make an argument once, not a couple days ago, prior to this video, and he goes, the majority of people that get guns in guns that are gun-controlled areas, they go over to states that don't have much gun control, right? And he does the whole gun show loop where you can buy a gun through a gun show and there's no background check, which is complete bullshit. And then he says they take these guns and bring them back over into the cities, and that's where all the violence starts. He goes, so it's not, people within that city that are creating the violence, they're bringing the guns in. Okay, well, if that's the case, then where these guns are being bought from, how come there's no gun violence there? Why is it only in gun-controlled heavy blue states that we're having this problem? Right? Makes you think.
Violent criminals they knowingly arm. In April, I announced that the Justice Department is going to be issuing an annual report on gun trafficking so we can update that data. Today, the department is announcing, as I just did, a major crackdown on stem the flow of guns used to commit violent crimes. It's zero tolerance for gun dealers who willfully violate key existing laws and regulations. And I repeat, zero tolerance. If you willfully sell a gun to someone who's prohibited from possessing it, if you willfully fail to run a background check, if you willfully falsify a record, if you willfully fail to cooperate with the tracing requests or inspections, my message to you is this: we'll find you.
Guess what? Every law he just stated, every rule he just stated, is already in place. You cannot buy a gun without a background check. Impossible. And if you do, guess what? You're buying them the same way that they do in other countries, illegally. Here's the thing, too. The gun control does not work because the bad guys, the people that use guns for bad or to commit crimes, don't buy them legally. So if you have a population that is armed, the lack or criminals that are going to try to pull things like that, pull bad stunts, try to hurt people, if they know that the people that they're trying to hurting are armed, guess what? They're probably not going to try to commit that crime. Just an obvious fact. So, getting more into this ridiculousness, I want to show you something to end this video, which made my absolute blood boil. And this is what happens. You go back, I would say maybe 10, 15 years. Politics was downstream of culture. Okay? It's switched. Politics are now downstream of culture. Or sorry, my apologies. Culture is downstream of politics. What I mean by that is you had Trump come in and people hated Trump so bad. And I remember on social media, people were saying, typing out, vote blue no matter who. And like a friend of mine once said, they would have voted for Kermit the Frog to get him out. Which is true. They would have. Because the Democrats have... you want to say Donald Trump is a divisive president. No. The Democrats are very divisive. They want to separate people. If you're Republican, if you're conservative, you're evil. You're the bad one. And the more you do that, the more you push. You got Black Lives Matter, which, I'm sorry, it's a Marxist terrorist group. That's what it is. End of story. They go around burning buildings down. They don't care about actual black people. If they cared about actual black people, they'd be going into predominantly black neighborhoods and cleaning, trying to get people off the system, trying to get people working. But the Democrats want people on the system. They want them to rely on the government, right? Which is the same reason they're trying to bash these voting laws that are coming in, that you need ID to vote. Well, Jesus Christ, you need ID to get onto an airplane. And they're trying to say, well, not all black people are capable of getting an ID. Well, that sounds pretty fucking racist to me. You're saying, what, black people are unable to use the internet? They're unable to take a bus? They're unable to take a car? They're unable to go to the DMV and get a driver's license? Or some sort of form of identification? Come on. The Democrats are being racist right to your face. And the people on the left are just cheering. Like, you get a leftist, you can say, Donald Trump can go up to someone on the left and go, the sky's blue, the sun's yellow. They'll go, no, vote blue no matter who. Are you kidding me? And what I mean by, and I hate to say this, but it's mostly middle-aged, white, liberal women. They're just social justice warriors. And I've never seen a class of people that tear their own people down. I mean, right now in Canada, where I am, you could go out and you could make fun of Christians, you can make fun of Catholics, you can make fun of anybody from any religion. You insult Islam, that's it. Done. I mean, what happened? It's absolutely disgusting. We should be every race on earth, whether you're white, black, Asian, Latino, Hispanic, Polish, doesn't matter. You should be proud of where you come from. And right now, you get these social justice warriors who are trying to crush that, who are trying to say, no, white privilege this, white privilege that. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show you this person right here. And if you're a parent, this is going to make your stomach turn. And I promise you, this is what's happening right now. CNN, ABC, MSNBC, they'll never show you this. They'll never show you this because it goes against their narrative. So let's check this out. So to put it into context, before we start, this piece of human garbage right here has a 5-year-old little girl, and if I remember correctly, an 11-year-old boy. And I'll let her do the talking.
So this morning, the baby woke up and had some sort of violence in her heart. I don't know what it was.
Some sort of violence in her heart. She's fucking 5. I've got a 4-year-old almost about to be 5, and I can tell you right now, she has no violence in her heart. Oh my God. Moving on.
But she has been losing her mind all day.
Oh, like typical 5-year-olds do.
Because I'm watching her lose her mind, and then I'm watching the preteen respond to that.
See how she says it right there? The preteen? So you mean her son? Which is what it is?
By trying to make her happy. And I have had to actively tell him, stop trying to make her feel better, stop responding to her tears. It's so interesting to see the conditioning of people responding to white girl tears happening so early. She's 5, and she's got an 11-year-old coming after her trying to make her feel better when she cries. We have to unlearn this whole business that white women crying is going to get them what they want in life, because that ain't it.
Yeah, and you're a piece of shit, and you shouldn't be a mom, and your kid should be taken away from you. This is what I'm talking about right here. And the fact that she actually makes a video of it, and it goes viral. And this is how she's talking about her own kids. I'm sorry, when my daughter, who's 4 about to be 5, when she cries, yeah, I go up to her, I see what's wrong. You don't sit there and let a child cry. That is sick, twisted, and she's a human piece of garbage, is what she is. Piece of shit. Let's be real. Piece of shit. Okay, so that's all the madness I can take for one night. I hope you liked this video. And I hope, realistically, I hope it opened your eyes, because at the end of the day, we all need to be on the same side, okay? Government works for us. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Well, unless you're in Russia or China, that's communist, but whatever. Canada, US, the government works for us. We pay their salary. We pay taxes. We have a say. The people on the left need to just step back, look at what the hell is going on, and stop judging someone because they're a Trump supporter, or they're on the right, or they're conservative. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's barbaric. It's not smart, and it's not a good way to live as a human being. You know what I mean? I find myself a pretty nice person. I would help anyone that I see. Doesn't matter political preference. But if I needed help and someone knew I was a Trump supporter, which hey, I am, they would look at me. Oh no, he's ignorant. He's a bigot. Makes no sense. Anyways, so that's that dumpster fire. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, most of all share. I apologize. It's been taking so long for me to post a video, but I've been trying to work out all the kinks. And I promise there will be more, and it'll be more consecutive. Again, share is the best thing you can do. And have a great night, and we'll see y'all later.